perhaps you're gay. Is there a point to all these fancy clothes? With all these buckles from your head down to your toes? It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Is there something that you're trying to prove? With all the makeup and the way you move, are you looking for some sympathy? No, I'm trying to be the best girl I can be. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Like my martinis dry, cosmos I won't deny. Smoke those long cigarettes. Thank God I'm not dead yet. Done all these crazy things, short of a wedding ring. Just
Good evening, thanks for joining us. I'm Close to Solon and you're watching nlcTrans. Tonight I'm here with a very large group. Tonight my usual co-hosts, Tara Alexander, Stacy Dozier, and Renee Benoit. And we have 3 guests tonight. We have, and I'm going to have to read this so I don't screw it up. We have Linda Colangelo, who is a Director of Health, Education, and Communications with the Northeast District Department of Health, and I believe that's in Brooklyn.
Yes, it is.
Susan Starkey, who is Director of Health with the Northeast District Department of Health, and Cindy Berry, who is with Senior Program Coordinator with Ledge Light Health District. A mouthful. So hopefully we can get a little more information on that. If you guys maybe could just talk a little bit about your organization and what you guys do.
Absolutely. Well, first, we'd like to say thank you. We're delighted to be here with you this evening and appreciate the invitation from Renee to join you and speak about a number of different topics that involve public health. We have 2 health departments represented here tonight. Northeast District Department of Health, we'll shorten it and use the acronym tonight as NDDH. And just let you know a little bit about who we are, what we do. The Northeast District Department of Health, as Callie said, we're located in Brooklyn, Connecticut. We serve the 12 towns of northeastern Connecticut, up in that little quiet corner where Renee's from as well. And we cover about 438 square miles, about 85,000 people. And the public health piece is the prevention piece, where we want to see people, not having to go through the medical treatment system. We're all about promoting wellness and protecting public health. So we're always working in the background, hundreds of thousands of times a day, whether we're speaking to children in the schools, whether we're out speaking with senior populations. It's all about that piece of it. Do you put a seatbelt on when you get in a car? Do you like to go out to eat? When you put the tap on in your home, does fresh water come out? Do you have, sanitation? Again, eating in restaurants, hundreds of times a day that you're using your public health system and probably not even realizing it. And of course, the big thing is, have you washed your hands today? The first thing you said when you walked in, we're doing inspections.
Some of us have, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Several times.
Several times. So again, and we have very similar programs. I think that we'll get into talking about a little bit later in the program. But Cindy, why don't you tell them a little bit about Ledge Light Health District as well?
Well, very similar. We have the same mandate from the Department of Public Health to provide certain services and enforce certain codes that have been already established in the state. We serve a smaller number of towns, but actually a larger population. We serve about 129 people, and we are the health department for New London, Waterford, East Lyme, Ledyard, and Groton. So more along the shoreline. But there are so many things. I was, really thankful that Linda kind of invited me to come along. That there's so many things that we do in collaboration to make public health better for the whole state of Connecticut. And you know, we're just really thankful again to be able to talk about some of the programs and some of the issues that you think that are kind of hot topics right now, and you know, answer questions for people that might want to call in. It's flu season, so there's a lot of people that flu is on their mind and getting the vaccine. And
it's not too late. Get your flu shot if you haven't got your flu shot.
Exactly.
That's another thing to remind people of.
So
Public health is basically broken down into, I guess you could say, 4 main categories. There's the environmental aspect of public health, which are soils and septic and food inspections and you know, the diversity of what we do there. There's communicable disease surveillance, a number of reportable diseases that, again, as we talk about flu season, last year we all recall the big H1N1 influenza pandemic that we were all dealing with. We also have health education, which Cindy and I do a lot of. The same outreach that you do, you know, trying to empower and educate people, giving them the tools and resources they need to make better decisions, to make healthier decisions. And emergency preparedness is another large part of what public health does, whether it's along the lines of bioterrorism, whether it's along the lines of
emergency planning,
evacuations, how you get one part of the population from point A to point B when people are under high stress. You know, you look at public health things like, you know, Hurricane Katrina. After the enormity of that disaster came all the public health issues that ensued afterwards as well. So, you know, we're so fortunate to live in an environment where public health is embraced and celebrated, and you know, where you're never at a standstill, never at a loss for words in public health. So, again, interesting, a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and it's so nice. I'm so glad you guys came on. You must be going a little crazy with all the snow. I know we got a huge amount down here. I'm sure you guys got a bit more up where you are. You're a bit north of us.
We're buried. we're buried, and roofs collapsing.
Yeah, it's been horrible, and I'm so glad you guys were able to come down. You pretty much cover our viewing area, in fact, pretty well as far as your departments.
In between our 2 departments is Uncas Health District, and they serve a lot of the Norwich area, Montville, Norwich, Basra, a lot of the outlying towns in the Norwich area.
Which is sort of an area that we
that's
don't cover.
Not generally MetroCast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's that just kind of worked out perfectly. That
Very
your
good.
areas are sort of coincide with the viewing areas.
Wow, that's terrific.
We sort of lose Groton, and then we lose the Ledyard, Norwich area.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've, you know, we thought, again, you know, wide range of topics, anything that we could discuss tonight. One of the things we thought may be of interest to some of the viewing audience as well is pretty much what's on everyone's lips, you know, as you round the first of the year. We're all talking about resolutions and, you know, oh, we're going to adopt some healthier lifestyles and things like that. The Northeast District Department of Health, as well as Ledgelight, we had the great fortune of being chosen as 2 what's called Achieve communities. We received federal funding to look at ways we could change policies in our communities that would lead people to healthier lifestyles. And the Achieve acronym stands for Action Communities for Health, Innovation, and Environmental Change. It's a real stretch of trying to make that one work. But what it does is it takes a look at, we can say policy begins at home. I mean, you can make personal choices to try to lead healthier lifestyles, improve your nutrition, or increase your physical activity. And that's all fine and good. But when you start looking in your communities, in your environments, whether they're work environments, whether they're school communities, you're teaching at QVCC, you look around those environments and say, what policies are in place that allow me to have healthier behaviors in that particular environment? I mean, we can talk all day long about our children and the tools and resources they need, but if communities don't have safe places for kids to walk, never mind kids, I mean everybody, if we don't have safe places to walk, to have recreation, to have physical activity, you know, take place, we could talk about food all day long, but if people don't have access to healthier foods, then, you know, what are we doing about it? So, Cindy, your Achieve initiative, that was a 2-year, are you finished with your Achieve?
We're still working on it, and we've actually decided to continue it because it's been so successful and there's been so much support. And really, it's an opportunity for people kind of from the ground up to decide what they want their community to look like. Do they want better meals in school? Do they want improved curriculum? Do they want bike paths? Do they want, in New London, the Recreation Commission adopted a smoke-free park policy. So now nobody can smoke in the parks in the city of New London. Wow. So, and it really depends on what that community wants. So it's like great ideas from the Center for Disease Control and other national organizations, and we looked at all kinds of things that worked in other communities, and we tried to say, okay, well, it worked here, could it work where we are? And do the people support it? And do we have the resources to make it happen? And so I'm always really curious to hear from Linda what her community is working on, because it's different than what the communities, and each community is customized. So it's really a very cool experience, and it really is wonderful to see a process where it's the people that make all those decisions.
Cindy, I remember talking to you before, and you talked so long about how you were going to bring people together, how you were going to help them see what kind of work that they could do so that they could tackle projects. How did that work? How did you pull together so many people that were committed to working on this kind of thing?
Well, I think that because it was about chronic disease prevention, and there's different aspects to it. There are some people that are really passionate about getting people to quit smoking, and there are other people that are just as passionate about starting community gardens. So it was really kind of cool to get people's various passions in the area and bring them all together. And still there are other people who are bicycle enthusiasts, and they really want more bike lanes. So it was really kind of cool to get the energy and have such a really neat vibe of people who had various passions and put them all together. And it really is kind of all of those things that are going to help prevent chronic disease in the community. So I think that it was probably one of the most, and I've been in public health for a long, long time, one of the most rewarding processes that I've ever been involved with. We did everything from taking a bicycle tour to look at, where were the hazards, to, we had somebody give us a bus tour to show us different neighborhoods and show us how some neighborhoods probably enjoy better health because of the environment that they live in, and other neighborhoods not so much. Maybe there's a lot of tobacco advertisements. Maybe there's no place for the kids to play. Maybe there's a lot of traffic. Maybe there's a lot of pollution in that particular neighborhood. So it was really kind of wonderful to go through the process and to try to make some of the changes that Linda was talking about.
Yeah, we had the very good fortune in our area. We had a small coalition that had been pulled together. It was called Health Quest, Northeast Connecticut. And we had major sponsors, on board, major stakeholders with us, such as Day Kimball Healthcare, the Plainfield Public School System. We have the college that's one of our partners as well, the Chamber of Commerce, and WIMY Radio. Lots of just very high energy, high profile partners. One of the very first things that we were able to do, we always kind of look for the low-hanging fruit, what's attainable, what's something that we think we can change right away. And with the Plainfield school system on board, we were able to, again, go after a system policy change within that organization. At Plainfield Memorial School and Plainfield Central School, they actually changed their policy to start the school day with a 10-minute walk. So we're talking about grades, 4 through 8 at the time, and they really kind of embraced this program in grades 4 and 5, where the kids come into school, they get into their classroom, at the beginning of the day, the principal comes on the loudspeaker and gives them a walking topic, because one of the areas that you can imagine there was a little pushback on is there's already so much to try to include in the school day. Here's one more thing. How are we going to do this without losing instructional time? So we made the walk a teachable moment as well. So the principal will come on at the beginning of the day and say, today's character development word is gratitude. So on the walk today, talk about the term gratitude. And then when the kids come back in after a 10-minute walk, then they journal about what they talked about on the walk. the beautiful thing is that it's not just the students, it's the entire school. It's the students, the teachers, the secretarial staff, the cafeteria help. Everybody puts down what they're doing for the first 10 minutes of the day. They go out, they walk, they engage in these topics, and then they come back and the kids will journal about it. So it's been about a year and a half that the program has been in the schools, and we're seeing the data already suggest that the amount of children passing the physical fitness component of the Connecticut Mastery Test, those numbers are going up in the right direction. The children's writing scores going in the right direction. The disciplinary problems, they're seeing decrease. So this one's a no-brainer. There's no cost to the school. It's something, it gets the energy level. You know, the kids who are coming to school who may be stressed, who have lots of energy to burn off, just burns it off. So we've got that school walking program that we've termed the Right Steps school walking program. We've been involved in implementing and launching a Northeast Connecticut Food Policy Council to look at access to better nutrition, community gardens, farmers markets, better nutrition in the schools. One of the things I was going to talk about a little bit tonight was another tool that's become available to us, and this is called the T.a.L.L. It's a nutritional navigation system. And what it does is it takes all of the foods that we eat primarily. It's been rolled out in 2 supermarkets locally for us. It's in Price Chopper supermarkets and Big Y. And what it is, it's this, I don't know if the viewers can see it here, we can zoom in here. It's a little octagon. They've taken essentially all the good things that make up a food and divide it by all the bad things that's in a food. And they come out with one number, 1 to 100. It's this easy.
Score.
Right. It's the higher the number, the better it is for you nutritionally. That's it. The higher the number, the better it is for you nutritionally. Now, you may think, okay, well, we're going in and we're looking at fruits and vegetables. They're all going to be very high on the scale. They're going to be hundreds, 90s, 96. But where this really helps parents and individuals, in aisles like the cereal aisle, right? It seems to be hundreds of cereals that you're facing.
No more Lucky Charms.
Yeah, right. And you know, what are we all reaching for? That type of thing. Now, right next to the price label, they're going to see a blue hexagon, and it's going to have a number that corresponds to what that food has been rated, essentially. So there are categories of food. So when you're looking at cereals, believe it or not, cereals can range from 1 to 100. But the median for cereals is 25. Okay? So you can start shopping with kids. The great thing is, to be able to graduate from kindergarten, you have to be able to count to 100. So kindergartners understand this system. Men who are not the traditional gatekeepers of nutrition in the family, they understand the system. They say, you know, my wife can't yell at me if I bring back a cereal that's like a 90. Okay? They think they've done a pretty good job there. So it's looking at that. It's going down the cookie aisle. You know, again, nutritionally, cookies aren't going to be that good for us.
And even bread, where there's a lot of confusion over, you know, if it's brown bread, does that mean it's whole wheat, and is it whole grain, or is it just, you know, unbleached white flour? And there's a lot of confusion over the nutritional value of bread. If it's low calorie, does that mean that they just cut the slices thinner? Or is it actually low calorie? So I think that having the T.a.L.L system around breads is really terrific.
Wasn't that where it came from? The developer's wife was grocery shopping and just said, I'm going completely crazy. I can't decide what to buy. You figure it out.
Yeah,
So he went through this huge scientific process to look at everything in there, take it all into account, validate it, work with other scientists to make sure that it all made sense. This isn't something that one product came up, one product line or manufacturer came up with a way to rate their product so that they all look good. This is one that's backed.
It's kind of an independent.
It is independent. This was the brainchild of Dr. David Katz, who is an internationally renowned nutritionist. He's with the Yale Griffin Prevention Center, and he's worked with a remarkable team. You know, the president of the American Cancer Society, the president of the American Diabetic Association, and the inventor of the glycemic index. So you know, he said it was exactly that. He tries to educate children, he tries to educate individuals about making healthier choices, but realizing that the nutritional fact panel that we've put on most of the foods, really you need a degree to be able to work your way through those kinds of things. And we're bombarded with so much information, and on television, you know, the kids are, every day they see so much along the lines of marketing. You know, we always talk about, you know, they call them Happy Meals. Really? Are they that happy about what's in the bag that they may be eating, you know, other than the toy that they're getting?
I don't eat them, I swear.
I don't eat them. So something like the T.a.L.L system is, again, it's just another tool to be able to put out there for individuals and say, here you go, here's something that will help guide you through a very complicated system of the food landscape. You
Is
know.
that going to be adopted by other stores, or is that?
Well, you know, this is a proprietary system. Dr. David Katz went to the federal government probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and they asked for some of the best and brightest minds to come up with ideas. And he introduced this idea, and it didn't go anywhere on a federal level. So he said, well, I'm going to see what I can do on a state level, on a local level. So he just, again, kept chipping away at it, to the point now that T.a.L.L is, again, a proprietary system. It's in over 800 supermarkets around the country. They've rated over 85,000 foods. There's a very, very long algorithm that goes along with the science of this. But the basic, you know, our end user piece is that simplicity of it. 1 to 100, the higher the number, the better it is for you. So you look at something like that, like I said, it is in Price Chopper, it is in Big Y. They have a website, nlcTrans110209. You can go on and find.
It's got all the stores listed.
Yep, it has the stores listed. They'll give you ideas of some of the, you know, some of the scores, so you can kind of get acclimated. The other thing about this is that once you benchmark your particular items,
Sure.
if you know that you can't let go of, you know, your Oreos, but you know that they're rated a 5 on the T.a.L.L system, doesn't matter where you're buying Oreos, you kind of know what that's rated for you. And it's a matter of telling individuals and telling kids too that, you know, these foods, we're not saying don't eat them. It's just that, you know, everything in moderation. You know, so Oreos can be a sometimes food, but not just an everyday food. But if we can kind of get, you know, the mass markets here moving toward shopping the perimeter of the stores. We say shop your colors, shop your fruits and vegetables, your dairy, you know, that's just it. Literally, there's pretty much not a reason to have to go into the middle section of a supermarket. Your healthiest choices will always be around the perimeter of the store. So little tips like that, you know, that we're looking at from a nutritional standpoint. You know, the physical activity is the other piece. You know, how much activity are we getting in our day? Can we make just simple decisions? You know, when we pulled in the parking lot here tonight, it's cold. What's the first thing you try to think of? Well, let me get as close to the door as I can, right? You know, but little choices like that. You know, points of decision making where you're looking at, you know what? I'll park 5 spaces down and I'll get a few extra steps in my day. When we did the Plainfield School System walking program that we initiated there, we came upon a wonderful individual that we had found. His name is Robert Sweetgall. He has walked across America the equivalent of 7 times.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, he was a chemical engineer for DuPont Chemical Company, and he had lost 5 family members to heart disease. And he knew he was kind of looking at the same fate if he didn't change some of his lifestyle choices. So he literally, at that point in his life, he was at a position, he wasn't married, he was making an exceptional salary. He quit his job and he became the original Forrest Gump. He started walking across America. He just started walking. And along the way, he stopped at schools and anybody who would give him an ear. And he talked about the benefits of walking. And UMass got hold of his story. He received a sponsorship from Rockport Shoes, but UMass followed him for 365 days, and every 6 or 7 weeks, I think, they flew him back to UMass to do a bevy of studies on him to see the impact of long-term walking. on the health of a human being. And so, he became kind of a test subject. He's written a number of books. I think he's authored 17 or 18 books, and
He does a lot of speaking. And
a lot of public speaking. And he was
tries
the one
to get
who,
people to take 10,000 steps a day.
yeah, exactly. And
Well, the thing is, I love to walk, but this time of year, God, it's so hard.
yeah, it's
And where?
and where.
There's snow on everything.
Right.
Well, you could do it at the grocery store.
Well,
Go to the grocery
Get your
store,
walk
go to the
in.
colleges, you go to some of the big box stores, No charge to go in and walk around up and down those big
Mall walkers.
mall
Walkers,
walkers.
yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
And it's that. It's like, what can be your points of decision to add a few extra steps to your life? We've become a very technically savvy system, but when you think about how much we sit just to email now, you email, you Facebook, even to just get up and deliver a message to a colleague that's down the hallway, seems to be a thing of the past. But if you make that a conscious effort, if you make it a conscious effort to sit around a table and have a meal again, and not that I'm racing to my next appointment, but it's about sitting with family, sitting with friends, and then saying, you know what, after this, we'll get up and we'll go for a walk tonight. We'll do something as a family. There was a story just within the past couple of weeks, I think a woman in Australia who decided to unplug her family. And for 6 months, they went without television, without computers, without
She's still
Game
alive.
Boys. Exactly. Well, you know what? She bribed her kids. She said, I'm going to write a book about this, and I'll give you a cut of the book, proceeds kind of thing.
Bribes work with kids.
Bribes work a lot with kids. So, but they unplugged, and some of her success stories coming out of it. She had a son who was absolutely tethered to something technical all day long, and when he wasn't, he rediscovered the saxophone, and picked up the saxophone and started playing that quite a bit, and it actually changed his mind about what he was going to go to school for, and he decided to go to school for music. Just in that change in the last 6 months of his life of being unplugged and just having to get back into family stories and playing games and reading books and just reconnecting in a different way, not wired anymore, but just I've always said I'd rather face to face with somebody than Facebook. That's just my personal preference, but.
So in public health, it's great that you're bringing us here so that we can remind people of little changes that they can make. Cindy, you at Legislate have a program in place to help remind people of where they can go and have opportunities for recreation and activities that's absolutely free. Partly because there's so many people that say, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money to do anything like this. But how much of it is free, and what are the good places?
Well, I think that, the best place to start really is your local park and recreation department, because many times they have programs that are kind of low cost and a wide variety, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi, or there's just so many programs out there that doesn't have to be Jane Fonda's workout that was so strenuous in the 80s. It can be a variety of different kinds of physical activity. And a lot of times local park and recreation departments will offer scholarships for people who can't afford the regular price of the program. So I think that that's a great place to start. But there just are so many trails and parks in our area, and it's just a beautiful place to to get out and walk or hike or bicycle. So we have a lot of resources on our website. People can come, can visit our website, and we have brochures and pamphlets on where farmers markets are and farm stands and trails and all kinds of places where people can kayak, and there's a lot of water sports here. So we try to make it as easy as possible. We a couple of years ago printed all that information on pocket folders and passed it out to every 5th grade class in the area, so that they could take home the information on where they could sign up for Little League and where they could sign up for cheerleading. And we just want people to get out and move, and there's just a lot of opportunities for people to do that. So where we can help point people in the right direction, or even just, talk to them over the phone a little bit and help them discover what their passions are and what their limitations might be. As people get older, some people experience chronic diseases that pose some physical limitations on what they can and cannot do, and we don't want people to stop moving altogether. So sometimes it's just kind of, let's brainstorm a little bit about what you can do and what maybe what your support system is, and do you have a buddy to do things with. That always makes it easy if you have somebody that's going to maybe call you and say, come on, let's go for a walk. Let's do this.
We have a nice trail up in the Putnam area. That walking
Putnam River Trail. Yep.
That's really nice
And
there.
Up where we are, it's called the Quiet Corner, and we're part of the last Green Valley that it's called. Just tremendous natural resources. Much like Cindy has said, that we've got the area is just rife for kayaking and equestrian sports and hiking and walking and biking, and it's just so beautiful. I mean, we have miles and miles of national scenic highways, and so it's, if you're not being physically active in some of these areas, you kind of scratch your head, and wonder why. We also have plans in northeastern Connecticut. There's been a big push on for a regional YMCA that will be coming to town. They've received some substantial grant funding to really kind of get this project up and rolling. And again, that's it. It's partnerships. It's talking about how you can connect with people to push some of these programs a little bit further. We've got some worksite wellness programs as well, trying to get people active in their work sites, as I mentioned, just trying to get people to take some physical activity breaks. And we have Whitcraft. What's that?
Asthma. Both health departments have programs to help educate providers to improve asthma care and to help those with asthma that's out of control get it back under control. That's called Putting on Airs, and it's a program where if residents call in, they can schedule a visit where a public health nurse and a sanitarian can go out, talk about asthma, what kind of problem it is, what kind of medicines they should be taking, how they should have it under control. Nobody should be complacent about their asthma. If you're still wheezing, if you're still coughing all night, you need to follow up with your physician to make sure you're on the right medication. But there are some things that you can do in your home to reduce the risk of asthma attacks. And they can call the health department to schedule those appointments. And that's another really important program, because the goal is to keep children, it's mostly targeted toward children, but it can also be offered for adults, is to keep them out of emergency rooms and out of the hospital. And then, but one of the benefits that's really, really important is it keeps them in school, because asthma is one of the number one reasons why kids miss too much school. If they're sick longer than other students.
Right. And the way that relates to a worksite wellness plan is, if a parent has a sick child, they're going to miss work as well.
Sure.
So if we're, again, we're trying to promote these types of programs in the right places so we can get the word out to individuals about these programs. And Putting on Airs program actually started at Ledge Light Health District. And it's been a number of years now that, and the program's growing and growing. It's got national acclaim to it at this point.
It's really the standard now, for asthma not asthma prevention, but for
for identifying asthma triggers and
self-management.
and
I've
things like
actually heard of that one, so obviously you're getting the word out.
Good. I'd be interested to know, as well as we're all sitting around here, as we talk about physical activity or nutrition, I mean, what are some of your challenges? What, we all can kind of...
Oh, God, finding time, for one thing. Finding time to do it. I actually try very hard to get out and exercise, and I walk in the summertime all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Tara and I kayak. We've started doing that a lot, and then
And then winter came.
and our river dried up, which we live on the Yantic River, which is now the Yantic Dry Riverbed.
But I think that's, you bring up kind of a good point in that sometimes you have to go to a plan B.
Right.
And so what's your plan B? It's kind of, you're always kind of, thinking for yourself, what can you do, what can you do?
And it's
shovel.
Shoveling.
There you go.
I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come out of this winter strong as an ox. But I find that since I bought my house, I don't need a Stairmaster because it's a Victorian house and everything is piled on everything else. So everything's on a different floor. I'm endlessly up and down stairs,
Great.
running back and forth, cleaning, because after 120 years, 121 years now, the thing's got some dirt in it. So cleaning is a never-ending process.
Great.
Yes. So you guys should come out and take a look at the house.
Is that, you throwing him under the bus right now?
But yeah, it's hard, especially this time of year. It's hard, but
Well, you know, as Renee mentioned, though, the snow shoveling. I mean, granted, people with you know, cardiac issues and heart issues of any kind certainly should not be doing that, or you know, it's considered very, very strenuous activity, and you should always check with a physician before you embark on anything like that. But that is a tremendous cardio workout. You know,
argue with that.
shoveling snow, and especially the amount of snow we've had, how heavy the snow has been. You know, I've been out there chipping ice, you know, shoveling, got the snow blower out. I had a moment of brilliance and actually got my leaf blower out. And I live in a Victorian home, and went out my second floor windows with the leaf blower. And when the snow is fluffy enough, you can just, you know, but it's that Yankee ingenuity that you get to a certain point, you're so fatigued that you're like, there's got to be a better way. I mean, I was looking at my hairdryer and I was like, I need something lubricant. I went to the leaf blower. But that has
That'll
heat.
help the ice dams.
You're right.
That's true.
So it's, but it's things like that. And again, as Renee's mentioning, you know, in Putnam we've got some, you know, nice river trails
Beautiful.
and whatnot. But if you don't have the river trails, as we were mentioning, plan B, do you have another place you can walk? Can you go visit a friend? We have people who come down from the Webster, Mass area because they know of our river trail. And they're like, we love walking here because it's well lit, we feel safe, you know, and people are going to seek out those places for certain reasons.
One of the things that I've noticed that's really kind of become very popular is meetup.com. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Well, you go to meetup.com and you type in your zip code, and it gives you a long list of all the things you might be interested in. It could include knitting, it could include book clubs, it could include hiking, it could include kayaking, bicycling, all kinds of things, and there may be a group in your area. And so it's really a cool way to get together with other people that like to do the same things you like to do. And I've known a lot of people who have joined a hiking with dogs or a bicycling group or a photography group. It's just a really neat way to try to come together with other people that can support you, that can, you know, teach you things, that can, you know, you go to trails maybe that you've never been to because you're kind of in the, you know, you're not going all by yourself, you're going with a group of 20 people. And it's really a cool way. I'm hearing especially a lot of people, older individuals who maybe they've lost a spouse or they've moved to the community because of a job or for whatever reason, have really found some great connections that way and have been really given the motivation and the opportunities that they're looking for better physical activity. So I encourage people to check it out. There's a lot there.
Meetup.com.
Meetup.com, yeah.
That's easy. Yeah, I've never seen that, but that sounds like it could be kind of cool.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say about New Year's resolutions is a lot of times people want to change everything all at once.
Yeah.
And kind of how that goes. You know, you want to change your hair color. You want to quit smoking. You want to lose 25 pounds. You want to, you know, it's kind of like the pressure that we put on each other and on ourselves to make it all right. And how so many New Year's resolutions fail.
Fizzle, right.
Because maybe it's just too much.
After 1 month. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
it's not easy.
And that's why a lot of what we do in these Achieve initiatives, we know that this is the marathon. This isn't the short sprint that we're in. You know, policy change takes a long, long time. So we're looking at things, you know, and how we can better our communities. But when you look into people's homes and their own lifestyles, it's exactly what Cindy just said. what's the little change that I can make today? Whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a child. You know, some of these kids came home from the Playing Field Walking Initiative and said, you know, I really like walking. Can we walk after dinner tonight? Wow. So it's an 8-year-old bringing home the idea that propels the whole family to adopt a healthier behavior. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, when it's wintertime, we all tend to get a little bit more sedentary. I mean, it's actually a little bit safer. You know, we don't want people walking on the ice and, you know, that type of thing. But I think when we look at overall, what's the one little change that I can make today? You know, you're just a little bit more conscious of it.
And it's just so much easier. It kind of takes the pressure off.
Right.
And it's about today. It's not about the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about a whole year. I want to lose 100 pounds in a year or whatever it is. It's about today. And I really like that because, just like you're talking about 100 points. Mm-hmm. So maybe you have the 5-point bag of Oreos, but you say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try to do 100 points. I'm going to try to get a little closer.
I found that once I started shopping the T.a.L.L system, and it kind of debunks the theory of it's so much more expensive to shop healthy. When you look at a particular kind of you know, famous cookie that's out there, you know, the double chunk, you know, chocolate, you know, kind of thing. If you've ever looked at the price per pound on those cookies, they're like $7 a pound. And the nutritional content of them is a 2. So you're nutritionally devoid of anything that's healthy for you, but yet you're paying $7 a pound for something. And they've actually done some studies where, side by side, if they take what's called the super cart and they load it up with the fresh, healthy options, I think we all know that we can go through a bag of chips in a sitting. You know, you get a good show on TV, and before you know it, you're at the end of that bag. Right? Tara's looking at Callie. But you know, when you buy a bag of apples, you don't go through the bag of apples in a sitting. I mean, you've got a few more days, you know, to work through that bag of apples. So I think that, again, it's just other ways of looking at it and being able to just make some different choices, small choices, you know, that make the big differences.
I read about an exciting opportunity to make small changes. It came from the School of Kinesiology at UMass Amherst, where they studied the amount of energy, calories that people were burning if they just sat there sedentary versus doing exercises. You don't burn very much at all when you're sitting sedentary. But if you just stop the time that you're sitting still, you'll actually burn a lot more calories. So they are trying to push people to decrease the amount of time they spend sitting. And that's an easy thing to do. You don't have to be walking, you don't have to be on a stair stepper. Just don't sit down as much. Work standing at your desk, or get up and go sharpen your pencil across the room instead of putting it right there where you sit. Move your waste paper basket to a different place. Those are small things, but they'll add up. Some of the studies that they've looked at to see why people are so thin and some people are much heavier, the people that are thin tend to jitter and move a lot. So if you're just tapping your feet or doing something, that's all energy, calories that you can just burn up without an awful lot of effort, not a lot of time and money.
And here's the number to remember, 3,500 calories. You have to burn 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound of body weight. Wow. So, in other words, if you're taking in a 2,000 calorie a day diet, okay, just to maintain your weight, you have to burn off 2,000 calories that day. So what goes in has to come out if you just want to maintain your weight. Now, in addition, if you want to lose 1 pound in a week, you have to find a way to burn 3,500 extra calories. So you start thinking about that and say, well, okay, you know, how am I going to do that? And so we left all of you a little chart of everyday activities kind of thing, you know, like driving, okay? Driving burns 110 calories an hour, right? So
That's something.
Road rage is probably more.
road rage. You're probably right. Walking at 3 miles an hour burns 280 calories an hour. And, obviously, we're not doing any gardening, but, in the summertime, gardening, 500 calories an hour. Running, 700 calories an hour. Eating itself burns 85 calories an hour. So it's kind of a weird way to get there. Just keep eating lots of fruit, Sleeping burns 55 calories an hour. You can sleep your way to success, to losing.
Well, and if you sleep forever, you'd never eat.
So there's some benefit.
But for a lot of people, it's really hard to keep track of how many calories you took in and how many you're spending. The even simpler thing is, if your weight isn't where you want it to be, you've got to do something different. So it's a little bit more moving than yesterday and a little bit less eating than yesterday without even doing all the math.
Yeah. Very good. We actually have a phone call, which I'm going to take. We're going to run out of time fairly quickly here. I just wanted to say, there's a whole bunch of things I want to ask you guys, but if we don't get to it, can you guys come back another night?
Absolutely.
Welcome back.
Sure.
I'm going to
Have you back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good evening, NLC Trans. You're on the air. Hello? Did we lose
Is it on speaker?
No.
I can hear them,
Just barely.
but it's really, really quiet.
Okay, we're not getting the caller here.
How about if we pick it up?
There's something wrong with the connection.
Hello?
I can hear her say hello.
Yeah. All right, we've got a problem with the connection here. We're going to have to. I'm sorry.
What did we do?
Yeah. I don't think we did anything. It's just like it's always been. I think we're not getting the audio on the call. I'm sorry. We'll have to have you call back another time. I think we lost the caller. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. But anyway, yeah, there was a whole bunch of things I wanted to talk to you about, and we're probably going to run out of time. But we may get to try this again. I believe that's probably the same caller calling back.
Well, again, we're, obviously we'd love to come back. It's no problem whatsoever. Public health is something that we can talk about.
Because there were actually
all day long.
So much.
there were some topics I wanted to talk about that I think would take a whole show. But you were talking about a regional YMCA.
Yep, there are plans. They've been working on this for many, many years. It's recently, as I mentioned, gotten a big boost with, I think it's a $3.5 million grant, almost, some grant money. It's going to be the Greater Hartford Y will oversee the project, but they're looking at placing it in the Putnam area to make it, kind of a regional. There's a YMCA in Southbridge right now that I think services quite a large area as well. And this has just been a drive that's been on for a long, long time in trying to, again, just get one of these placed in an area where we can get children access to the many wonderful programs for the Y, the seniors as well. They've just
Ironically, they just closed the one in Norwich a couple of years ago.
exactly, and that's
They're
been in the
working to
news again,
revitalize
too,
it, yeah.
trying to revitalize it. I think it's one of those things in the economy the way it is. It's always difficult to talk about multi-million-dollar projects. But when you look at the long-term benefit, I've always said, if you went into a community and you had to list your community assets, we would quickly list our community hospital, our community radio station, our community college, things like that. And if we had already had a YMCA, I'm sure it would be listed as a community asset.
Right.
The tough part is when you try to get behind those initiatives to get those placed in communities when the economy is down, when everybody's on a fixed budget. It's tough, but you have to persevere, and again, those are marathon projects. You have to have the stamina to see these projects through, and they will take years. One of the hard things about policy, and they've mentioned this at many of the conferences that we've gone to, Cindy, is that from a political standpoint, oftentimes politicians want to see things done quickly because their job depends on it. If they're elected every 2 years, every 4 years, people need to see progress in that short amount of time. policy, and especially public health policy, sometimes that takes a long, long time, you know, to put into place, to be able to see the impact that it has on society. You know, it's kind of that, there's a Chinese proverb, I think, that says, one generation plants the seeds and the other gets the shade. And that's kind of the mentality that we have to think about. It's not necessarily about us sitting around the table tonight. It's about, you know, potentially our children, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren, you know, those future generations. What are we doing today? And certainly, you know, in the work that you're trying to do, what you're doing today,
Yes.
the hard road that you walk today, that's going to impact colors to come. So I think we all get that. We all understand
Yeah.
that. We're all walking many of those similar
At the
roads.
end of the show.
I know, we're absolutely out of time. We have to say goodnight. So everybody that's calling in, call earlier next week, please, because we're out of time at this point.
Well, it happens that way. People,
It happens that way, yeah.
people
But if
get.
they're interested in calling, you know, if they
Yeah.
can call their local health department, because one of the things that both health departments are doing are recruiting volunteers for Medical Reserve Corps. Those are people that can work on public health initiatives. They can help stand up if there's a flu clinic or a, emergency event. So if you want to learn more or be involved, call the health department and find out about volunteer opportunities.
Great. And-
So remember, we're preventing illness, promoting wellness, and wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
and absolutely, if you guys can come back, because
Sure.
we have a lot to talk about, and we are just out of time. So
Sure.
we have to actually say goodnight. And thank you so
Sorry,
much for
Colin.
coming.
Thank you.
you.
And,
Thank
and
you,
we'll
thank you,
catch these
guys.
callers next week. Please call back. But anyway, thank you so much for coming,
you.
and please come back again
We sure will.
so that we can talk some more.
Thank you.
We'll
Promoting
say
public
goodnight.
health.
Night, everybody.
Good night.